I never thought I'd find myself wasting time on adult websites, but one strange night in July, I did just that, and not only that, I ended up shelling out $100 for some premium access. I figured it wasn't the worst way to blow $100. I was watching a live stream of a woman who caught my eye. Sure, I'd seen better, but something about her pulled me in. They called her Hot Housewife Emma on the site, but I knew that woman. Her name was Loren, and she wasn't just some random model, she was my wife. After she and her partner wrapped up their little performance, the guy, looking all proud of himself, turned to her and said, "That was something else, darling. Bet your husband can't do you like I can, huh?" Loren didn't even flinch. She smiled and said, "Marco, you're good, but no one sets me on fire like my husband does. I've been with other men, sure, but none of them make me as happy as he does. Keep trying, though." Marco looked confused and asked, "If he's so great, why are you here cheating on him?" Still calm, Loren answered, "I didn't plan for this to happen, but I like the thrill. And besides, I can get away with it. He'll never find out. I love my husband with all my heart. If anything, this makes me appreciate him more." Let me tell you, that $100 turned out to be the best money I'd ever spent. I didn't need to hire a private investigator to learn what my wife had been doing behind my back. Now, you're probably wondering what led me to that website in the first place. Fair question. Honestly, it was just a fluke. I'd call it bad luck, except I'm thankful I found out the truth. Loren and I had been married over 8 years at that point. We grew up together in a small farming community in central Illinois. She lived in town. I was raised on a farm. Her dad owned the largest grain elevator around. My father ran the biggest grain farm in the area. Naturally, our parents did business together, and that's how we met. I won't bore you with stories about our school days or flings with other people. Truth is, we weren't exclusive for a while, but we always kind of knew we'd end up together. I was her first, and though we both dated others, we came back to each other. We made it official during our junior year at the University of Illinois. A year and a half later, right after graduation, we got hitched. We both earned degrees in business administration and jumped into married life head first. I thought everything was great until that July night 3 years back. After Lauren's parents retired and moved out to Phoenix, Arizona, she and her siblings, Mia, Ted, and Evan, bought out nearly half of their dad's grain business. He kept some control at first to help them grow financially, but eventually handed it all over. Mia married my buddy Max Bennett, another farmer not far from me. Ted and Evan handled the day-to-day business, while Loren took care of the accounting. Mia pitched in too, mostly working with customers and sales. It was a real family-run operation, with a few extra folks helping out during the busy seasons. Now, back to how I caught Loren. Winter was quiet for all of us. My work on the farm slowed down after harvest, and the Gentry siblings were busy finalizing the business handover. Loren wasn't needed much on the farm, which was fine by me. Managing 200 acres of corn and soybeans kept me plenty busy. She usually helped with errands and paperwork, but it wasn't planting or harvest season, so she took some time off. She and Mia booked a spa trip, a 3-night stay to unwind. They came back looking rested and happy. In fact, they liked it so much they planned another getaway for July, once planning wrapped up. It was during that trip when everything changed. Daniel Stone, a local rep from the Illinois Department of Agriculture, came by one day. He and Loren had gone to college with us, so we were friendly. I mentioned Loren was at the spa, and he gave me this odd look. Then he said something about his cousin working there as a masseuse and how they'd heard rumors of shady stuff going on at that place. He suggested I check it out online. Later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I started digging and came across a website linked to the spa. That's how I stumbled onto the live feed and saw Loren. I went through every emotion you'd expect. Anger, heartbreak, disbelief. But I didn't stop there. The site had archives. For $20 a pop, I could download older videos. I bought 8, each one proof of what she'd been doing on their spa getaways. That brought my total to $260. Best investment I ever made. Turns out she'd been with at least 2 men, Marco and someone named Steve. 8 times on video? Who knows how many more there were? I didn't care. 2 was more than enough. I burned everything to DVDs and locked them away in the wall safe my dad had built when he designed the house. Then I wiped my computer clean. No trace left except those discs. When everything was ready, I picked up my phone and sent Loren a text. "Loren, this is William. I know what you've been doing at the spa. I have proof. Do not come back here. This house is no longer your home. And soon, I will not be your husband. We are done. My lawyer will be in touch. You'll get a chance to collect your things. She must have had her phone off, because I didn't hear anything back until the next morning. Then my phone lit up with her name. I let it go to voicemail. William, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Mia and I are heading home soon. We'll talk about this and clear it up. I love you. Another call. Another message. Same thing, nearly word for word. Almost like she rehearsed it. Then a text, repeating it all again. I wasn't going to argue with her. I texted back. Maybe Marco knows what this is about. Why don't you have him call me? But don't come back here, Loren. We're finished. That quieted her down for a bit, but by afternoon, she called again. William, we need to talk. I'm staying with Mia until we can sort out this misunderstanding. Please call me. The next morning, I went to the bank and opened a new safety deposit box in my name only. I placed a copy of the DVDs inside, along with our original prenuptial agreement. Then I headed to my lawyer's office, Julian Monroe. I'd made an appointment for 11 a.m., but when I arrived, who was sitting there? Loren. Eyes red, hair a mess. She looked awful. She said, William, we need to talk. I asked how she knew I'd be there. She told me Julian had called her. Right then, Julian walked out and asked us to come in. I held up my hand and said, No, we are not going in together. Julian, you've called Loren. Now I need to know, are you still my lawyer? He hesitated, then said, if this continues, I'll be representing Loren. That was it. I told him, fine. Get all my documents ready by 4 o'clock. I'll send someone or pick them up myself. I'm finding a new attorney. Loren looked stunned but didn't say a word until I turned to leave. Then she said, William, why won't you just talk to me? I said, because Julian's not my lawyer anymore, and I'm not talking to you without my own attorney. Goodbye. Julian tried to smooth things over, but I was done. I walked out. This is about your wife, Isabel said gently. If you're all right with it, I'd like to sit in on your meeting this afternoon. Sometimes, a woman's point of view helps. I nodded. Truth be told, I was on the edge again, and it felt good to have someone, anyone, show me some kindness. Isabel's empathy helped calm me down a bit. I told her everything, from how I stumbled on that live video to the sick feeling in my gut when I realized my wife had betrayed me. I broke down once or twice while talking, and she just listened without judgment. After I got my head straight, I laid it all out to Samuel, my plans, what I wanted. Unless something major changed, I was going through with the divorce. We pulled out the prenuptial agreement and went over it together. The terms were clear as day. I kept every bit of the farm, land, equipment, buildings, you name it. Loren kept all her part of the grain business. Now, the financial division came with a condition. If there was no cheating, Loren would walk away with half of our financial assets. But if infidelity was proven, she'd only get $25,000 for each year she was unfaithful. I, on the other hand, would receive $225,000 for every year of betrayal. Samuel asked me point blank if I had evidence. I told him I did, but I wasn't ready to share it unless I absolutely had to, like in court. I told him no one else needed to see what I'd seen unless it came to that. Isabel, still sitting quietly, gave a small nod. Samuel didn't push it any further. Over the next few days, Loren blew up my phone with calls and voicemails. I didn't answer. Didn't listen either. Samuel told me we had a meeting set for Thursday. It would be me, Loren, Samuel, and Julian. I planned to ask Loren some questions, important ones. Her answers would decide how this divorce went down and whether there was any chance of saving our marriage. Thursday morning at 10:30, Samuel and I pulled into Julian's parking lot. Lauren's car was already there. We got led to a small conference room. A few minutes later, Julian and Loren walked in. She looked a whole lot better than earlier in the week, put together, clean, composed. She gave me a soft smile. William, I hope we can finally talk and clear this all up, she said. I miss you. I want to come home. I didn't say anything. I was afraid if I opened my mouth, my voice would betray me. Samuel opened things up. We're here to talk about William and Lauren's divorce. Both sides should be honest and open about how they want to proceed. Julian added, my client believes this is just a misunderstanding and wants to work through it with her husband. Hearing that made my blood boil, but the anger helped me stay in control. I was ready now. That's fine, Julian, I said. Your client can talk to her husband. I turned to Loren. When we got married, we signed a prenuptial agreement. 2 years ago, when you joined your family's business, we updated it. I brought copies for everyone. Loren looked surprised but said nothing. We made that agreement to protect what each of us brought into the marriage. My family's land and assets, your family's grain operation. In the case of a divorce, the agreement says everything stays with its rightful owner. That's two. I paused, then continued. You keep your clothes, jewelry, your car. I keep mine. Household stuff gets split. But everything tied to the farm, machinery, buildings, bins is mine. Then I got to the part that mattered most. If neither of us cheated, you'd be entitled to half of what we saved and built together financially. But if there's cheating, that changes everything. I took a deep breath. If you divorce me for infidelity, you get $225,000 for each year of unfaithfulness. If I divorce you for cheating, same number, $225,000 a year, not 50%. I locked eyes with her. Loren, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Your answers will decide whether or not this marriage has any hope. If you lie, even once, we're done. You understand. She looked stunned for a second, but quickly got control. Yes, William. I'll answer everything honestly. I still love you. I want to fix this. I asked, do you mind if I record this? She glanced at Julian, who advised against it in that lawyer way of his. Samuel backed him up but reminded her that she needed to convince me, not them. She looked back at me and said, yes. Go ahead and record. We set up a small recorder on the table. First question, I said. From the time we agreed to be exclusive until the day we got engaged, were you faithful? Loren smiled and said she was. I knew she was lying. That was lie number one. I reminded her about Louis Fairbanks. 2 days after we made our promise, he bragged about sneaking over to her place and sleeping with her while her parents were out of town. Mia overheard it and begged me not to overreact, swore Loren loved me and it was a one-time thing. I let it go back then, but I warned her no more passes, no more lies. I explained how I watched her closely for 6 months. Nothing else raised red flags, so I gave her the ring. She may have wished I'd proposed sooner, but I had to be sure. Now, I said, from the day you got the ring until our wedding, did you cheat? She looked straight at me. No, absolutely not. I believed her. I had still been watching closely during that time, and nothing had happened. Julian could tell she was getting emotional. He suggested a break for lunch, and we agreed. Samuel and I picked up Isabel and headed to the local diner for their blue plate special. As we sat down, Isabel asked, how's it going? Samuel replied, William's handling it. He's laying the groundwork to get real answers. If Lauren's honest, he may still go through with the divorce, but he's giving her the chance to come clean. I looked up and said, it's hard. Real hard. Why do people make such stupid choices? They hurt themselves and everyone around them. Isabel put her hand over mine. If we could stop them beforehand, we would. But people don't see what they're throwing away until it's too late. That made me chuckle, first laugh in days. Samuel smiled too. Even during the worst times, people find ways to laugh. Same thing happens at funerals. I guess divorce is no different. Moments of grief and moments of levity. I looked at Isabel and said, thanks. I needed that. She smiled and nodded. After lunch, we went back to Julian's office. I reminded Loren before we continued, if you lie again, this meeting is over. So is our marriage. You understand? She nodded. Yes, I understand. I'll be honest. All right then. From the day we got married until now, have you ever cheated on me? Tears filled her eyes. My chest hurt just watching her, but I needed to hear her say it. Yes, William, she whispered. I did. I cheated. I'm so sorry. Can you ever forgive me? I looked at Julian and Samuel and asked them to leave the room. They didn't want to, but I insisted. Loren gave Julian a nod, and they stepped out. I had her confession recorded. That was enough for court. But I turned the recorder off for the rest. Loren, I asked quietly. When? Where? Who? She sniffled and said, this weekend at the spa. His name was Marco. He was my massage therapist. She wiped her eyes. I don't know why it happened. Mia and I had a great day. Dinner was amazing. Then I booked a massage before bed. I was lying face down, and his hands felt so good, and I didn't stop him. I had no idea things would go that far. But they did. She broke down crying. If I could take it back, I would. You have to believe me. I stared at her, feeling sick. This is shocking, Loren. I don't know what to say. She sat in silence, sniffling. Then she looked up at me. William, is there any hope that you'll forgive me? Without making it feel like an interrogation, I asked. Is this the full truth? I want the whole truth, I told Loren. Nothing left out. She stared at me, looking both scared and confused, probably trying to figure out how much I already knew. Finally, after a long pause, she nodded. Yes, William. What I told you is the truth. I'm sorry. Even though I stayed calm on the outside, inside I felt like someone had ripped my heart out. But I didn't show it. I stood up, walked to the door, and signaled for Samuel and Julian to come back in. Once we were all seated again, I said, firm and clear, this meeting is over. Then I turned to Loren. I'm filing for divorce on the grounds of infidelity. The terms of our prenuptial agreement will stand. She looked stunned, then desperate. But why? She cried. I told you the truth. I admitted it. I want to fix this. I love you, William. Please, give me another chance. I shook my head. You lied, Loren. That's why. You had the opportunity to come clean. I warned you to tell the truth, and you didn't. If you'd been honest from the start, maybe we'd have had a shot. But you tried to downplay it, to get away with just one confession. I know Marco wasn't the only one. I have proof. She broke down, sobbing, pleading, but I had made up my mind. I turned and walked to the door. Then she screamed, Wait, I'll tell you everything. Please, William, everything you want to know. Just don't leave me. I stopped, looked over my shoulder at her one last time, filled with pain and rage. You had your chance, Loren, I said. You thought you could manage the damage by admitting to one thing. You chose to lie. It's over. Then, louder, I shouted, It's over. Samuel caught up with me in the parking lot as I got into my truck. William, do you really want to file this as infidelity? Yes, I said. She had her chance. I misjudged her all these years. I thought she'd care enough to be honest. She didn't. File the papers. I drove home. My home now. The house felt quieter than usual. I grabbed 2 beers from the fridge, slammed the first, and nursed the second while sitting in my office, staring at nothing. I had everything planned so carefully. Copies of the videos, the paperwork, the prenuptial agreement, all hidden away safely. But then a sick thought hit me. I had left the tape, the recording of her confession, sitting in Julian's office. I called Samuel in a panic. Hey, it's William. Did you grab the recorder before you followed me out? Silence. Then, oh no. I completely forgot. I rushed after you and left it on the table. Damn, I'm sorry. I sighed. Well, call Julian, see if you can get it. But I doubt they'll say it's still there. Even if we can't, Samuel said, you've got enough evidence. Yeah, I replied. I didn't want to use those downloaded videos unless I had to, but if she fights the charges, I'll bring them out. After we hung up, I cracked open another beer. I wasn't drunk, just numb. The evening news played in the background while I stared at the screen, lost in thought. Then I heard it, gravel crunching outside. I stood up slowly, walked to the back door, and stepped onto the porch. Just as I spotted a figure in the dark, the porch lights cut out. A sharp crack hit the back of my head, and everything went white before fading to black. I woke up to the sound of beeping. Everything hurt. A nurse sat beside me. Hi, William. I'm Chloe, your nurse. Please don't move, okay? You're going to be all right. I'll explain everything soon, but for now, stay still. Do you understand? I nodded slightly, though my throat felt like it was on fire. I'm going to let the doctor know you're awake. We'll be right back. I closed my eyes and waited. Soon, a new voice spoke. Mr. Turner, or William. I'm Dr. Kate. You were badly hurt in what we believe was a robbery at your home. Now that you're awake, I'm confident you'll make a full recovery. We had to restrain you to prevent sudden movements while unconscious. I'm sure you noticed the pain when you tried to move earlier. I nodded again. All right, Nurse Miller, go ahead and remove the restraints. William, we're also going to take out the breathing tube now. Just stay calm. The restraints came off, and then the ventilator tube. It felt like hell coming out. My throat felt raw and torn. I couldn't talk for a while. Eventually, someone brought me a sip of water, and I croaked out a whisper. What happened? Dr. Kate gave me a calm look. It's 7 in the morning. You were found unconscious after what looks like an assault during a break-in. Paramedics got there in time to save your life. One of your lungs had collapsed, but we reinflated it. You're lucky, William. She went on to say I'd be monitored for several more days. I'd be all right, but I'd need to heal slowly. I spent most of that day resting. Chloe, the nurse, stayed by my side the entire time. Later that afternoon, I sat up with some help and made it to the restroom. That's when I had my first real conversation with Chloe. Turns out, we went to school together. She'd been a couple of years behind me. Her full name now is Chloe Miller, married and divorced, with a little girl named Emily. Brad, her ex-husband, cheated on her too. So yeah, she understood what I was going through. The next morning, two detectives showed up, Detective Raphael Douglas and Detective Marcus Barnes. Detective Douglas started off. Looks like you were attacked during a robbery. We found a wooden 2x4 on the porch with your hair and blood on it. No fingerprints, probably gloves. No forced entry either. You must have stepped outside and got ambushed. He continued. Inside the house, things were turned over. Pictures taken down, drawers emptied, strongbox gone through, filing cabinets rifled. Jewelry box in the master bedroom was emptied too. Detective Barnes added, we don't know exactly what was taken yet. Once you're home, we'll go through everything with you. Should be about 3 or 4 days before you're discharged. Then they asked what I remembered. Not much, I said. Had a couple beers. Watching the news. Heard a car pull up. I got up, stepped outside, saw someone. Then everything went black. They nodded, then asked about Loren, where she was, how things stood. We're separated, I said. Getting divorced. I don't know where she is. Douglas asked if things were heated. Yeah, I replied. She's contesting the divorce. I'm filing based on infidelity, which changes her settlement. She's not happy about it. He looked thoughtful. That gives her motive, William. I shook my head. I just can't believe she'd go that far. He asked if anyone else might want to hurt me, neighbors, friends, enemies. I couldn't think of a single one. He then asked about valuables, cash, jewelry, art. I hesitated, but told them there had been about $8,000 in the strongbox. I usually only kept a few hundred in cash, but I had recently withdrawn money, closer to $88,000. As for valuables, I mentioned a few pieces of jewelry, none worth more than $1,000. I didn't say anything about the hidden wall safe. Detective Douglas wrapped things up. All right, William. That's it for today. If you remember anything else, let us know. And call us when you're ready to go home. Over the next 4 days, I slowly got better. Slept a lot. Chloe stayed with me almost the entire time, even off the clock. She only left to shower and change clothes. Max, Mia, Samuel, and Isabel all came to visit. Julian showed up too, even though he was Lauren's attorney. I appreciated that. We'd been friends long before this divorce mess. Lauren didn't come. Not once. Neither did most of her family except Mia. I didn't blame them. Still, it hurt. Everyone wished me well. Mia and Isabel both kissed my cheek when they left. I saw tears in their eyes. It was a tough few days. The sleep helped, but the dreams were rough. Nightmares. I'd wake up disoriented, heart racing, sometimes crying without knowing why. Once, I think I screamed myself awake. Chloe was always there, calming me down. She said she stayed not just because it was her job, but because she understood. And I believed her. Eventually, Dr. Kate came to tell me I'd be going home soon. Chloe helped me pack up, wheeled me down to the lobby. Max and Mia were waiting for me. Before I left, Chloe gave me a warm hug. Good luck, William, she said, holding on for a second longer than expected. With everything going on broken marriage, health knocked sideways, I didn't know what came next. But I was grateful to be going home. I didn't pursue anything romantic with Chloe. I told her I might give her a call sometime down the road, and that was the end of it. Coming home. Walking back into my house after the hospital was harder than I expected. The place was a mess. Max and Mia offered to help clean up, but I asked them to leave things as they were. I needed to go through everything myself, one piece at a time. I told them I'd call when I was ready. They didn't argue, just gave me space and left. First thing I did was check the wall safe behind the bookcase in my office. To my relief, everything was exactly where I had left it. Cash, CDs, stock certificates, bonds, and most importantly, the DVDs holding proof of Lauren's cheating. No one had found the safe. The rest of the office was still in disarray, but surprisingly, nothing seemed missing except for some cash, my laptop, and a few limited edition wildlife prints by Larry Winslow. I noticed some of my bank and credit card statements were laid out on my desk. Someone had clearly been snooping. I called the banks and credit card companies and asked them to flag any suspicious activity. As the police investigation dragged on with no solid leads, Detectives Douglas and Barnes kept me updated. But without high-value items missing, they admitted the case might go cold. They questioned me again about Loren, but I repeated my belief that she wouldn't be behind an attack like this. Not for something she'd be getting in the divorce anyway. They didn't find any real reason to keep digging in her direction. To be safe, I opened new accounts, ordered new checks, and bought a replacement laptop. I got my office back in order, cleaned up the paperwork, and handled overdue bills. That's when I found an invoice from a company called Red Inc. Suddenly, it clicked. Red stood for Remote Electronic Data Storage Solutions. I'd completely forgotten. I had video surveillance around the farm, covering the house, grain bins, and machine shed. And that footage was backed up online through Red. Normally, I deleted older files monthly to save on storage fees. But this time, I hadn't. That meant I had footage from the night of the attack. I logged into the Red portal and pulled the surveillance video from that night. Downloaded the whole day's feed to my laptop. My hope was simple. If the quality was good enough, I'd make a DVD copy for Detectives Douglas and Barnes. But after reviewing the footage, I realized the intruders had moved too carefully, keeping their faces hidden. Nothing clear enough to identify anyone. Still, it gave me something to think about. New beginnings. With the bills paid and house secured, I started thinking about the future. I contacted an old college buddy who worked at Cargill, one of the biggest grain buyers in the country. That connection opened doors. Within 2 weeks, I had meetings with some key folks in their acquisitions department. Then I made a quick trip out west, Vegas for a bit of rest, then Phoenix for some business. When I got home, it was time to make my move. I called Samuel and told him to arrange a meeting at Gentry Grain with Loren, her brothers Will and Evan, and her sister Mia. I had Samuel let them know that, due to the divorce, my grain storage would no longer count toward the company's state-required reserves. I wanted to discuss the situation and how to move forward. Apparently, this caught them off guard. They agreed to meet, though. I guess they hadn't realized just how much they'd relied on my grain. When I walked into their office, I greeted them plainly. Will, Evan, Mia, Loren. I think you all know why we're here. Will tried to speak, but I held up my hand. I asked for this meeting, so I'd appreciate if you'd let me say my piece before jumping in. They quieted down, and I continued. First off, the divorce. Loren. I slid a copy of the final divorce papers across the table. Please sign. She looked up at me, face flushed. William, I don't want a divorce. Whatever you think I've done, it's not worth throwing everything away. I still love you. Let's fix this. But not here, not in front of everyone. I shook my head. It's done, Loren. The sooner we sign, the sooner we move on. She stiffened. If you insist, then I'm going to contest the infidelity charge. It's the least you could do. I figured she'd say that. If you do that, I'll be forced to submit this to the court. I placed a DVD beside the papers. That disc has footage from all 8 times you cheated on me at the spa. Not just with Marco, also with a guy named Bradley. Mia turned beet red. Her jaw dropped in shock. It's true, I said. Loren had multiple affairs. I have every minute on video. I won't play games anymore. Sign the papers, or we go to court, and the judge sees it all. Loren sat in stunned silence. William and Evan looked floored. Mia quietly wiped away tears. Eventually, Loren signed. I handed her a copy and put the rest in my briefcase. Then I addressed the bigger issue. Let's talk about the grain reserves. Because of the divorce, my stored grain no longer counts toward your licensing and loan requirements. They looked worried. But there's more. I now own your father's 52% stake in Gentry Grain. That shut the room down. He didn't include a right of first refusal clause in your agreement, so the sale was legal and final. He knew how much the company needed my grain equity, and once he found out what Loren had done, it wasn't a hard decision for him. I looked around the room. You each now own 12%. I am the majority shareholder. I continued. I've agreed to sell my controlling interest to Cargill. You have the option to sell your shares at the same price I negotiated, a good deal. The downside? The company will be under new ownership. The upside? I negotiated a 1-year job guarantee for each of you. If you work hard, you can prove your value. Then I dropped the final bomb. I also sold my farm and Max's to Cargill. Max will stay on as manager under a long-term contract. Their expression shifted from shock to disbelief to full-blown anger. Ted, the oldest, finally exploded. What the hell, William? You destroyed everything we built over a personal vendetta? How did you even convince our father to sell? What lies did you tell him? I stood up. Ted, your father sold me his shares to keep the 3 of you out of jail. Instead of questioning me, maybe ask yourselves what kind of people your siblings are. I placed another DVD on the table. This one shows your pickup truck in my driveway the night I was attacked. It clearly shows you, and Evan entering my home and stealing from me. Their faces went white. I could have gone straight to the police. Instead, I gave you the chance to walk away with your freedom. Loren finally spoke, tears in her eyes. I can't believe you did all this. I faced her calmly. Our situations are not the same, Loren. I spent years loving you. Years you spent pretending. You betrayed me from the start. First with Louis Fairbanks, then with every man after that. You nearly killed me in that attack. She fainted. Mia and Evan caught her before she hit the floor. When she came to, I delivered the final blow. Your father was ashamed of all of you except Mia. I'll be speaking with her privately later. As for the rest of you, I've wasted enough of my life. I won't waste any more. Then I walked out, briefcase in hand, feeling lighter than I had in years.